We always love talking about swimming here and off the podium, particularly when we can speak to someone who is an Olympic gold and bronze medalist, a world record holder, and somebody who is doing great things in swimming and has got some great Olympic experiences to share with us. She was a member of the 4x100 metre medal winning team in Tokyo, as well as 4x200 metre bronze medal winning team in the same Olympics. And to learn about that and everything else in between, it is a pleasure to welcome the one, the only Meg Harris to Off the Podium. Meg, welcome to the show. It's a pleasure to have you on Off the Podium today.
Thank you for having me.
It's thrilling. We love swimming. We're Australian. We have to love swimming, right? Like it just happens. You wake up and you're like, I like swimming. I assume that's how we all kind of get into it. But it's been at the time of recording this a little over a year since Tokyo. Do you ever get tired of hearing those words, Olympic gold medalist, Meg Harris? You gotten used to it yet?
No, I'll never get tired of hearing it. Slowly, you don't really get used to it. It's just something that you hear more often.
Mm-hmm.
But as time goes on, you go to other things. Like I went to Worlds, I went to Com Games, and I think each one is just incredible as you go along with it. So, definitely you don't get used to it, but you just do hear it a lot more, which is still amazing.
I just wonder if you get your friends play a trumpet or something like that when you just walk into a party or something like that. Like, here's Meg, here she is, Olympic gold medalist. You can take that as an idea if you've never had them do it before.
I usually announce myself when I walk into a room anyway, so it's fun.
You have to. It's part of it going in there. All jokes aside, obviously talking about swimming and the fact that every Australian loves it. We all basically grow up swimming, but I believe your mum was a swim teacher and you also did a bit of surf lifesaving. So how do you go from that to eventually winning an Olympic gold medal? Because unfortunately, surf lifesaving, obviously not an Olympic sport, so you had to do a bit of a transition there.
So I grew up in North Queensland, so that's very heavily on surf lifesaving and that kind of stuff, like the beach, obviously. And I guess I was just swimming for Learn to Swim, you have to do Learn to Swim in Queensland, and swimming for that, and obviously for the ocean swimming you need to learn how to swim. Pretty dangerous if you don't. So basically swimming for that, and then got to the age where you go to mini squad or you start doing more than just learning to swim, and my mum was taking mini squad classes and I was in that, and it just got to the point where I couldn't do that anymore. I guess I was getting older, and joined my first club in Mackay, and then just took off from there, I guess.
Keep going that way, which it's interesting because I know we've had some canoeists on the show before, and they've sort of started surf lifesaving with the paddle element with that. So was it always the swimming element that you sort of enjoyed a little bit more than some of the other elements that came with surf lifesaving?
I hated swimming in the ocean. I can't swim I think I did surf for 10 years, and I think out of the whole time I think I opened my eyes twice in the water.
Wow.
Petrified of jellyfish, hate jellyfish, and sharks, I guess, them too, but I don't know, just scared of everything that was in the ocean. So I loved board paddling, so on top of the water, and but I hated waves. So whenever we came down south to do stuff, I hated getting on the board because of just the waves. So I guess I was more not really, I can't run anymore. I can't do anything on the land, but definitely preferred the out of water sports more.
Which it then seems as soon as you ended up going into a pool, you were just, no sharks, no jellyfish, no waves. It was perfect, right?
Yeah. Well, there's North Aussies, and they have a pool aspect of it. So it's the first day is in a pool. And I think I loved that part way better than at the beach.
Which I guess living in Mackay in North Queensland, you're always wanting to be in the water though, right? Just escape the heat though. So it's kind of we've got to find a pool rather than the ocean if all that sort of stuff you hate.
I love swimming in the ocean, like just playing right in the surface, not going out deep.
The deep stuff. So you're never going to be an open water swimmer, basically, a marathon swimmer.
Absolutely not.
Absolutely not. Which were you also very sporty in other areas, just played a whole bunch of different sports growing up?
I guess I did basketball in primary school, and then played netball for a year in high school. But I guess swimming and surf kind of took up most of the time with school.
With your mum being a teacher, is that a help or a hindrance? Because my dad used to coach me when I played hockey, and it definitely had its perks, but also it definitely had its negatives having your own dad coaching your team. So, like, I mean, I guess you could have that too with your mum coaching swimming as well.
Yeah. Well, she's not really, I wouldn't consider her a coach, more learned to swim, like very, very young age. So she kind of just knew that it wasn't like she never took over the coaching side of things. She was always the mum, which is always amazing.
Yes, exactly. Did you have, with sort of the sports that you were doing and focusing on the swimming, was it something growing up that you watched the Olympics? Was this something you would look and go, okay, well, if I keep going at this could be something I could achieve one day?
When I lived in Mackay, not really. I guess I never really thought about it. Like that was something that I could do. So from a young age, not really. When I moved to Brisbane, that was 2015, and 2016 was the Olympics. And I was training at the same pool that Kate and Bronte Campbell were training at.
Wow.
And so that was the first time that like I really watched, or I remember watching the Olympics, I think. And I was, watched them swim, and that was the first time I was like, wow, this is actually like I want to swim for this reason.
That's crazy. How's that, going to a club and there you've got the Campbell sisters training? I mean, that's like,
Yeah.
I can't imagine how that kind of either helps and like, wow, there they are, the Campbell sisters. Holy crap.
Yeah. Well, I mean, so I had a different coach, so it wasn't like training alongside them. But yeah, you'd always see them at the pool and you're like, wow, they're just people.
Yeah.
Like growing up, like you see like all these like photos of them, you see them on TV most of the time, and like you go to like swim clinics and they're there. Like it's just different to actually having them like right next to you.
Which is insane to think. I love hearing these stories about how, you know, you see them go to Rio and obviously go on to what they achieved there. And then to think that, well, 5 years later, should have been 4, but you're going to be their teammate essentially and winning alongside of them, which, I mean, do you dare to dream when you're watching in Rio, when you're seeing them win that 4x100 meters? Is there part of you that goes like, oh, one day that's going to be me? Like, and do you think it's something that is going to be achievable? Because you're there at the next Olympics being with them, essentially.
Yeah, well, for me, I was pure sprinter. Like growing up, like 50 meters was as far as I went. Like at a certain level, like I couldn't do the 100 meters as well as I could sprint like a 50 meters. So in my mind, I wasn't like, oh, I want to be a 4x100 meter. So like I want to be like in that relay. That it was just swim as fast as I can to the end of the pool and basically just still watch these other people swim. Like I can't really remember it being on my mind like from a young age. Like I want to be in that race. Like I want to be in this race. Like I remember watching Steph Rice swim the 400 IM, and I was like, wow, that's like incredible. Like just like, so it wasn't specifically me like wanting to swim a race. It was just like wanting to swim like there, I guess. Yeah.
Which, when it comes to the sprinting aspects, you're talking about sort of the 50 being your speciality. Is that something that you learn at an early age, that I'm going to be a sprinter, or freestyle is my stroke? Because obviously you, I can imagine, experiment a lot with different strokes and distances, but at what point do you go 50 meter freestyle, this is my bag?
I don't know. I never really knew how to race properly. So like I never knew how, like I never had the work for my back end or anything like that. So it was just in my head, it was, I don't know if it was from surf, like just going as fast as you can, but in my head, it was just get to the wall, like as fast as you can. So in 100, I would go out so fast and really struggle to come back. Like growing up, I was always the first to turn on the wall, but then coming back was just everyone would overtake me. And I guess it wasn't until I really moved to St. Peter's that like I learned that like you have to work on your back end, like train for your back end, and that's when I did. I worked on my back end, and that's when it started coming that like I could actually swim 100 meters, I could swim 200 meters. Like 200 meters was a full shock for me at trials last year, but yeah, like I guess in my head to just get to the end of the wall, and yeah, it just came with training and that I learned that I could actually swim further.
Because it's that interesting aspect, I guess, of the 50, because you also don't have to turn in a 50, do you? You just jump in, thrash your arm for 50 meters, and then boom, you're at the wall. Yeah. So was it also getting used to a turn? Because you're obviously not turning in surf lifesaving either, are you?
Yeah. My skills were definitely lacking a lot. Like my turn, I don't know if it was because I was so tall, so young, that like I just really struggled with that. But now I'm working on it, and that it's made a huge difference to my swimming, like so far the past year being in Adelaide. So yeah.
You end up going sort of from that period where you're talking about 2015 Olympics 2016, but you go to Youth Commonwealth Games in 2017 in the Bahamas, if you don't mind. Not a bad place. I don't
Yeah.
know if we've ever really had someone on the show go to a Youth Commonwealth Games before. So give us a bit of an idea of what that experience was like, because was that your first sort of multi-sport event and kind of getting a taste of that lifestyle and what that was like?
Yeah, well, not just my first multi-sport event, like that was my first event. Like before that, I'd only been away on like little camps, like TID camps that they do here with like I guess the top swimmers, youth swimmers. So yeah, that was my first team, but that was actually a team that like was the second team picked. So the first team went to Junior Worlds, and then because I don't know if it's still a rule, but you can't go to both in
Right.
Australia. Like you can't go to two junior teams anymore. And so like I got picked off basically not the leftovers, I don't want to say like that, but that was the team they picked for Junior Worlds, and then they picked the Youth Com Games team second. So I was lucky enough to even be picked on that team. But an amazing experience. Like I guess I really just enjoyed that it wasn't all about swimming. Like, and everyone else was actually fascinated about swimming, and the swimmers were fascinated about everything else, and we were allowed to go to the other sports and watch. So it was, yeah, it was crazy.
Because I think what we find from, say, some of our guests who maybe go to a youth Olympics or something like
Yeah.
that is that it does give you that taste. Because, I mean, a multi-sport event is completely different to what you're going to experience at a World
Yeah.
Championships or something like that. So, I mean, as you're saying, bumping in, I'm looking here at the sports at the Youth Commonwealth Games. So, you know, you obviously get your athletics, rugby sevens, tennis, you bump into some beach soccer players, all that sort of stuff. But, I mean, it's pin trading, like uniform exchanging, like ceremonies, things like that. I mean, little things that I guess give you a mini dress rehearsal for what you'll eventually experience at an Olympics.
Yeah, well, the one thing that was actually weird at Youth Com Games that I remember so clearly was we watched the judo. I think that's what it's called, like the wrestling kind of. And I remember everyone telling me that the only way you can basically win is if you dislocate the other person's shoulder or they pass out.
Wow.
Wow.
I'm in the wrong sport if I've got some anger going here. Like, you know, it's all and good to swim. That's crazy to think that's kind of what's going on there.
I'm sure there's other rules that actually aren't like that, but that's the whole time when I got told. So the whole time I was just watching it, I'm just waiting for someone to pass out.
I think it was Rio when we did our first ones watching judo on this show. It was, I think, the Uchimata or something like that. There was some weird thing that they kept talking about, which was a move in judo. And we had a judoka on the show, and she explained it. And yeah, it's when you've got like this one thing that you can do. It's like that'd be like in swimming, like halfway through a race, if you could play some special kick and you automatically win. It's like, Meg wins. She's pulled the golden kick out 25 meters in, race over. Like, it's kind of weird to think that. But the Bahamas too, I mean, that's not bad for your first kind of thing overseas. I mean, not a bad place to go,
not.
right?
No, but I mean, the travel took 52 hours, I think, to get there. And
52 hours, wow.
It was supposed to take 26 or something, but yeah, we didn't leave Australia for like 3 hours, just on the tarmac. So then every other flight just got delayed. So by the time we got to LA, the whole team had to split up. So imagine all these junior kids, like half ended up in New York, half ended up like in Miami, like Atlanta, like the whole team was just spread over America.
Wow. And you're what, 15 at the time? So like, is this your first time that you've gone 15. On a trip like that, sort of without the parents and family as well?
Yeah, the only time I'd ever been overseas was Bali when I was like 10 with my parents. Yeah.
Wow, that's crazy. Is that, I mean, it's obviously exciting. When you're 15, you're like, great, overseas, away from the parents, bring it on. But like, it is also a daunting experience too, particularly when you're going there to compete. I mean, you do all right, you win a gold medal, but like, I mean, it's sort of, how do you kind of put that in the back of your mind, all those sort of aspects of, wow, I'm going out into the world as a young 15-year-old?
I never really think that. In my head, like as like a 15-year-old, I was just on top of the world. I was like, wow, I'm traveling the world, like I'm swimming. Like I never really stopped to think about, wow, like I'm literally in the middle of like America. I've never been overseas this far before like that. I was just in my head, I was like, we're going there. I have all these like team managers, everything around me, like nothing's really going to go wrong. Like how bad can it go? And I never got homesick at a young age, which I'm pretty happy for. I get homesick now, but I never did at a young age, so I was happy about that.
That works. As I said, gold medal in the 50-meter freestyle. I mean, how's that to get your sort of first big gold medal on an international tournament? Does it just light the fire? Do you think, this is easy, gold medal on the world stage, bring it on, I can keep doing this?
Oh, definitely not easy. I didn't think I'd won. I just touched the wall and then I heard Harris, And like I didn't think like anything of it. I never like in my mind it wasn't like, oh, Harris got gold like this. I just heard Harris. I was like, oh, I've done something. Like maybe I got a place. And then I turned around, I think I cried. And I have not cried in such a long time. And now here I am crying.
Wow. Fantastic. Fantastic. You talk about sort of that selection process, kind of, you know, a team goes to the Junior Worlds and you go to the the Youth Commonwealth Games. What about the Youth Olympics in 2018? Was that ever a potential? Because it seems like it's a small team that gets sent there by the Australian delegation. So does it come down to numbers, basically, how that works out?
Well, Youth Olympics was just the top 4 from the top from every stroke, guy and girl. So one of every stroke went. So it was pretty hard to get on that team. But 2018 for me was kind of not the best year. Like I moved to Simon, so I was more just in a transition phase. So I moved to train with the Campbells and like my swimming took off after that. But it was just that year moving to him and like so I moved I think after trials that year, like after nationals. So like I didn't make the team. So I moved to Simon and yeah, that was the year like I just was obviously I needed to do more. Like I was a sprint swimmer, but that wasn't enough to get me through anymore. So I had to change and figure out what I wanted to do.
Does it help when you're training along, like you're talking about watching the Campbells, is when you're training alongside them, does that help them with the coaching change as well? I mean, how does that all, obviously it's benefited you quite a big deal.
Yeah, definitely. It was more, wasn't specifically just Simon and the Campbells, like training with them. Shayna was there at the start as well. Like, so it was a lot of like, you just moved to a squad where like high performance. And so it was also going to the QAS gym and like having like a gym coach, having like this kind of coach, whether it wasn't just the one coach that did everything. It was like Simon was amazing with the swimming and that, but then you had like the skills coach, you had people working on every aspect, so it wasn't just the swimming. And that which made it like in my mind, I was like, wow, this is like a full, like, this isn't just swimming after school anymore. Like this is
it's a job, it's a full-time job, basically. You talk those other aspects outside of the gym and the swimming aspect, like is that sort of the mental aspect, kind of nutrition? Is that kind of what all that is? And sort of what things do you sort of are learning in that period?
Well, in that sense, I was just talking about like a skills coach, like biomechanism that like helping with like all like putting the actual swim together, but just the training. But definitely there's psychologists, there's dietitians, there's everyone that you could probably think of to help you basically get ahead.
Do you always try and have conversations, particularly say with the sports psych, of how do I find half a tenth? How do I find a tenth? Like, I mean, that mental aspect when it comes to any sport always fascinates me, but how does that work in swimming to just get that little bit faster?
Yeah. Well, recently, I've used a psych more. I never used to. In my head, I was always just go, go, go. Like I was never really stopped again to think about what was happening. But I think for me, I love racing. Like, obviously not many people like training. Like it's a hard thing to do. I love training though, but like racing is why I do it. Like I get up and racing and like, so I struggled a lot in 2020 and getting back into it because like there was just no racing. Like there was nothing and it took a while for me to start to enjoy the swimming again. Like, cause like racing was just it. Like for me, like I loved getting in the water and swimming as fast as I could. Like I think that's more why I did it. Like I love 50s because it's just get to the wall as fast as you can, like race. So like, I never really had a problem with intent and getting in the water because that's what I love doing.
Because is there much thinking going on in like 25 seconds when you're splashing, dashing in a pool? But besides, get to the wall first.
Absolutely not. The only thing I think of in a 50 is when I take my breath.
Yeah. Wow. And how does that, like, is it just like one breath that you're kind of taking in that entire period?
Now,
Wow.
I think about 3 years ago I took 8.
Oh, wow. I've probably taken 400. I couldn't imagine that. One breath. Like, can you do the whole thing without taking a breath? Is that possible, do you think?
Depends what kind of state I'm in. Like sometimes I'm swimming and I get to where I need to take the breath. I'm like, I don't need to. But like I would get to about 5 meters from the wall, and if I hadn't taken the breath, I probably should have taken a breath then.
Wow.
But so it's more just telling myself. Like sometimes I get to it and I'm like, wow, like I get 5 meters before I need to take a breath. I'm like, I just need to take it now.
Yeah.
Like it just, I guess it depends on like if I've done much breath work before or that kind of stuff. If I need to. But.
Which obviously in, say, the longer distances, the positioning, I'm sure you're aware of the girls on either side of you where you are, but I mean, in a 50, are you even, I guess you can't even tell because there's so much thrashing going on. Like, can you get
Yeah.
to a point and go, I've swum my ass off, clearly I'm gold, but you're seventh, or there'll be another race where you're like, oh shit, that wasn't too good. Oh, holy crap, I won.
Yeah, well, it is really hard to tell because everyone's pretty much even. But I always know, like, I dive in and my underwater has never been the strongest. So I always come up just a bit behind. So, like, it is my swimming that I need to really pick up to get to the wall. So, like, I kind of notice I'm a bit behind at the start. And then I get to the breath and I'm like, okay, well, this is it. Put my head down. And then I don't, for the last 15 meters, just don't think about anything but getting to the wall.
Getting to the wall. I always love it when you see it though, like just the touch and everything. And obviously there's a whole technique when it comes to that touching the wall.
Yeah.
Do you ever get so into it that you just like headbutt the wall? Is that a thing that 50 meter swimmers do? Because it just seems like it's so fast and furious that bang into the wall. Shit, that happened.
I mean, I've never experienced that, but I don't think I'm going fast enough that my arm would give away.
I mean, I'm not saying try it. Like, I'm not saying Paris. Like, oh, and there's Meg Harris headbutting the wall for gold. Like, probably not a smart idea. But it's just crazy kind of how furious that goes. 2019, you go to the World Juniors. You get a silver, 2 bronzes, including a bronze in the 50 freestyle and a bronze in the 100 freestyle. Again, similar to the Youth Commonwealth Games, that experience, and is that something then that after a difficult 2018 that you've achieved that now at a World Juniors that, again, continuing to light that flame, you're out at that point from an Olympics, kind of, anything's possible from there.
Yeah, I mean, it definitely was amazing. But the 53, like, was always, again, get to the wall, like nothing you can really do to plan for that other than, I guess, be in the best shape. But the 100, I swam a really great 100, like a PB, at the trials, and then at Worlds, like Junior Worlds, it wasn't actually one of my best swims. Like, I didn't do a PB, like I probably was just a bit off. But so I definitely knew that, like, that's happened quite a bit, like going onto an international stage. My 50's been fine, but the 100's the one that, like, I get into a race and I just get, like, the adrenaline is so high that, like, I just don't know how to, like, didn't know how to hold my race plan, didn't know how to do any of that. Like, I just got in the water and it was swim as fast as you can and then try hold on. So, yeah, definitely knew that I had to do a lot of work if I really wanted to make Tokyo coming off Junior Worlds. Like, I was still young now, but, like, I was a junior swimmer. So, like, I knew that, like, if I wanted to be against these girls, like, I really needed to figure out how to race internationally.
How is that level from junior to senior? And do you kind of get a vibe where you think you're ready? That, hey, coach, I think I'm good enough now to go. Like, obviously, it's a time-based sport, so you could probably tell with your times. But do you really, like, push the selectors to be like, look at me, I'm doing this, I'm ready, put me on the senior team?
I don't know, there wasn't really a moment for me where I was like, I'm ready to be on the junior team. It was more like, I'm ready to be on the senior team. It was more like, I want to be, like, I'm ready to put in the work to do it. But it's hard when you're on a junior team because it is so, like, the team managers and everyone, they're, like, always have to be around because you're on a junior team. Like, you're all under 18 years old. Like, you're so, like, I guess, like, there's limits to what you can do. Whereas compared to now being on a senior team, like, it's just so different, like, so not laid back, but, like, you can do so much more for yourself rather than, like, so, like, when you get to the pool, you get to the pool when you need to get to the pool, rather as a junior swimmer, like, you had to get to the pool with the group. So, like, it was more thinking about a senior team, you're just wondering, like, oh, I don't really know how to explain it, but, like, you notice that you're on a junior team more. And, like, so you're like, oh, there's these kids, like, they're great swimmers, but you still kind of compare yourself to the older swimmers because you're not quite there yet. So.
It's interesting to think with that because, you look at some of our swimmers we've had in the past who are clearly of junior aim. I think to Ian Thorpe back in, all the way back in Sydney when he's 16, 17 and he's doing what he does at that age. It's kind of, obviously there's a point as a 16-year-old or a 15-year-old where if you're that good, you're going to, hey, go to the Olympics. I think they're going to say, like, no, you're too young. But it's obviously, that transition and that supervision aspect is obviously very interesting to that as well, because you're right. If you're under 18, you kind of need that level to kind of
Yeah.
cross over there. Did the delay then for you, the extra year for Tokyo, did that ultimately end up helping? Do you think if the Olympics had gone ahead in 2020, as planned, you still would have gone? You still would have been selected and you still would have been there?
I mean, I don't know, like no one knows, but I 100% think that the extra year helped me. Like going into 2020 trials, I was not like liking swimming. Like I was really just going day in, day out, just going to the pool, training, coming home. Like that was it. Like I wasn't enjoying it. I wasn't, I don't know, like it's the Olympics. It's a huge thing. Like everyone wants to go. But in my head, I was just like, this is more like a job, I guess, than something that I want to do. And then coming off the back of, I guess, the break, or not break, lockdown, coming out of it, it was more an ease back into swimming. So it took a long time. Like we just slowly built up and then went into states like with absolutely no pressure and started racing again. And then as the racing came, I started enjoying it more with less pressure. And that was when I was like, wow, like I started doing PBs, like huge PBs that I hadn't done in a long time. And I was like enjoying it. And I was like, if I actually put my head down, like this is actually something that I might be able to do if I work this way. So.
And with that enjoyment, the closer and closer it gets, say, to the trials before the Olympics, does that enjoyment turn to pressure? And if so, then do you feed off pressure thinking that I do well here, I'm going to an Olympics, or is it the opposite? Do you not feed off pressure?
I mean, I didn't really feel the pressure going into Olympic trials. It was more like I have a shot. Like I wasn't like, no one was really watching me, no one was this, but I always had Dean in my ear saying like, you can do it. Like you have like an actual chance of being on this team. And I guess going into the 4x1, like trying to go for a relay, it's different because you only have to be top 4, or like there's a chance if you're top 8, you could. Like they take, like there's just so many freestyle swimmers, which is also harder. But I guess because there is so many, it's less people just looking at you to make the team. It's more looking at a group of swimmers, like this group of swimmers, like if these 4 people go, like look what they cocould do. Like if there's 6 people go, there's so many heat swimmers, there's this, like they could do amazing. It's rather than just like you look at someone like Arnie and they're like, oh, if Arnie makes the team, like look what she can do. Like there's less, I guess, eyes just on you.
But I can imagine on the flip side, though, for the 4x100 meter women's relay team, the best team in the world for the last, 300 years, basically, that there is a bit of pressure there. Because I can imagine you've got such a stacked group of girls who are fighting for these relay spots, right?
Yeah. Well, I guess it was just as everything was happening, I was just going along with it. So it was make the final of the trials, make the team, and then we get to Olympics and it was you're in the heats and then you swim the heats and then it's like you're in the final. So it's more just you never actually knew the next, well, you knew what was going to come next, but you didn't actually know if you were going to be on this. So it was, for me in the heats, it was like no idea, like any one of us could have been in the final. Like we all similar times, all just as fast. It was literally who could perform on that day. And so you just had to put in the best swim forward for the heat. So it wasn't really thinking about racing at the Olympics in the heats. For me, it was more that race was I have to do the best I can in this race to make the finals. So the heats, I guess, was good because it was my first swim at the Olympics. So I was nervous, but it was more like I wasn't racing for the Olympics. I was racing like to try and get a spot in the final. So it was less pressure off that. So then it came around to the final and I was like, well, I've already swum. Yeah. And I'm with these girls, like all we have to do is win, basically
do
what
we're here to do. Yeah. Which on the trial aspect, so I'm assuming you go in there also wanting to try and make an individual event as well. So do you sort of balance that mentality of want to make the relay, want to make the individual, or is it kind of all blend together that you swim your best race in the individuals, you're going to make that as well as the relay?
Going to Tokyo, individual spot was not on my mind at all. For me, it was make the team, be on the team, like be on the Olympic team. Like that was just it. Like I was nowhere near like the mentality of get an individual spot. Like Obviously you get an individual spot, that's incredible, like you're swimming in the world stage like by yourself. But I love relays. Like it's one of the best things is swimming with other people. You get to celebrate your success with other people. But coming into this year, obviously you put more pressure on yourself, I guess. Like you've swum a relay, like you know what it's like to swim a relay, like you want more. And I'm always going to be happy for the girls, like swimming with Shayna, Molly, Maddie, like they're incredible swimmers. Like no matter what they do, I'm always going to be happy for them. But it's still in your head. You're like, wow, like I want an individual spot. And I think as the week at trials this year went on more, I was like, wow, like I really want a spot. Like I want a spot. And because at trials, you're never fully confirmed on the team unless you're 1 and 2. And I guess if you're 1 and 2, you have an individual spot. So it's all the whole week. You're still like, you know, like you're probably going to be on the team, but it's not like you can't officially say like you're on the team. And then made the 50, touched second to the 50. And I was like, wow, it's just, it's like it's you're in an individual spot. Like it's different to a relay. Like the relays, I actually enjoy relays more swimming with a team, but like you have a once in a lifetime opportunity to swim. Sometimes once to swim a race by yourself on the world stage.
Yeah, which, and also then getting selected for the 4x100 meters is probably like, you know, a cricketer getting chosen to play for Australia, you know, playing for the Matildas, you know, if you're a soccer player, all these esteemed Australian national teams, because I mean, undefeated, since 2012 and, you know, 2004, bronze in 2008. I mean, this is the team you want to be on. So, I mean, kind of, when you get the, hey, Meg, you're going, like, I mean, what's that feeling like?
Pretty incredible. I mean, you get picked to the relay, you're like, wow, like there's a chance that like you could be coming home. Like there's a high chance you could be coming home with an Olympic medal. Like that's just like what the mentality is. Like you, like whether or not it's gold, silver, bronze, or even just making the final, like you're coming home with, you're probably going to have a success from this meet with this relay, because these girls are, and the girls that you're swimming with, like it was Emma, Kate and Bronte, like they're like 1, 2, 3 in the world most of the time. Like it was just, incredible.
It's crazy to think that, as you're saying, you get that selection and you're thinking a medal, because obviously the unique thing about swimming, which we'll talk about with the 4x2, is if you swim the heats, you also get a medal, which is just incredible. I'd love to hear just about the Olympic experience itself. Obviously, Tokyo are very unique games. It's your only Olympics, so you obviously don't know much different from what you experience. But do you soak up everything that you can in terms of, again, back to what I was saying about pin trading, things like that, you know, bumping shoulders with, there's Rafael Nadal or somebody like that, like kind of what was that whole outside the competition experience like?
I guess it was different with Tokyo because of COVID. You couldn't really interact with other countries, I guess. Well, you could. It was easier when you were at your sport, like at the pool, to interact. But at the village, it was, if you spend more than 15 minutes with someone from another country, you could be a close contact. So you couldn't spend more than this time with another person. And in the food hall, there was shields around, clear shields around. So it was hard to really just go around and sit down and meet people when you were constantly in the back of your head. It was if you spend more than 15 minutes with this person, and they test positive, then you're done for your racing because you can't swim anymore. So it was really hard, but I guess you still run into people, you still meet people in that, but I guess everything just happens so fast. I look back on it now and I'm some memories come back and I'm wow, I actually don't remember that happening, this happening in that moment, or it comes back to you and you're wow, I forgot about that. But yeah, for me it was just everything happens so fast. I don't really even remember my race. I remember after it, I remember the medal ceremony, but people are saying, oh, what do you feel like in your race? I was I don't really remember. I remember the last 25 meters with Kate swimming in, but the rest of it, watching Bronte swim, me getting in, and then Kate and then Emma getting in, I really don't remember all that part, because it's just just on flight mode, just going so fast.
Well, it's because it's also the fact, Mick, this is your first of many, right? You're I've got another 4 of these to go to. It's fine. We'll do it there. But is there any moment, though, I always love asking this question about where it kind of hits you that you're an Olympian? When you get your uniform, when you land in Tokyo, when you're on the starting blocks, is there any moment where you think to yourself, I am an Olympian?
I can't specifically remember that moment, but I remember when it hit me that I got cold was when watching Zach win the 200 breast. Like that was the first time I was in the stands, like watching a race. So that race, I was like, wow, he just won gold, and then I was like, wow, like I did that too. Like we just done that like a couple of days before. So that race, and then the first race, which was Brendan Smith's 400 IM.
Yeah.
When he got bronze, and then we watched it downstairs, and I was like, wow, I'm about to race. Like this could happen. Like for me, like this, I could be up on that podium like he is. Like it's. So they were the two races that I actually just remember, and they were the ones that I was like, wow, like I'm actually here.
That's crazy. That's crazy. You mentioned obviously with the whole aspect of heats into the finals.
Yeah.
Similar to what I asked about getting selected for the Olympics. What was that moment like when you got the tap on the shoulder, like, Meg, you've done all right in the heats. We like you. I think you might get ready. You're going to be swimming in the final tonight. Like, what was that like?
I think from that moment on, that was when I just hit like autopilot, and I was like, wow, I'm racing, like I just need to get home, do what I can. Like, so it wasn't really soaking it in like, wow, I'm in the final. It was, well, I've got another race I have to perform like this. I mean, I'm now thinking back on it, I didn't really take in a lot of the moments because I was just so nervous, but no, it's still incredible. Like even watching the 4x2 girls, like you're in the heats and you watch them, like you're like, oh, they have to perform now. You're not like, I guess it sucks that you're not in the final race, but you're like knowing that like they've done everything they can, like they're the team that they're going to put forward, that they trust, that they're going to do what their job is, and then you kind of just in your head, you're like, yeah, like that's it. Like they're the ones that are going to swim this race, and like you're happy for them.
I'm not to disparage the role of a heat swimmer, but in a way, you kind of get a cruisy role. Think about it, Meg. You do a bit of work in the morning, you go home, put your feet up, watch them win a medal, and you get a medal too. So you're kind of like, sweet, I get something for free almost. Like it's.
I guess it depends on the relay. Definitely depends on the relay. That like this year, there's been some relays that they're like, well, we actually need you to put in some effort if we need to get into the final for this one and that, which is kind of actually nerve-wracking because you're like, they're putting this team and it's not their top team. Like they're saving their top team, but like if they put their top team in, they'd 100% be in the final. But like they put this team in and you're like, wow, like we have pressure, like we have to make the final for them otherwise. Like that. And even if you have like a high chance of getting in the final time-wise, you think like, oh, if I have to do a changeover properly, like if I false start, like that's automatically like the team's out. Like I guess there's different pressures on it rather than like, yeah, once you're home and then you've made the final for them, you're like, wow, look, like now they're swimming, like I got them in the final and that, but in the race, it's actually pretty nerve-wracking, like in case like you do false start, in case something like the changeover does go wrong and you're like, well, just ruined the whole finals team, like they don't even get a swim.
Yeah, it's good to think that. And then obviously the positioning, we've talked a bit to some swimmers on the show about the positioning of swimmers in the relay. So you're second off in the final. So Bronte leads off, you go in second, which, I mean, with the strategy, you talk a lot about like the race plan. Is there you say to Bronte, you go out, thrash and bash as much as you can, Meg, your goal to kind of maintain it. Like what's sort of the strategy of the second leg in a relay in a final like that?
I guess when you're at, like, it's at a level where you're like, all have your different coaches, you'll have this, like, you have your different race plans. It's not like, you obviously work together, but you still have your own separate race. So Bronte has her way that she swims her race. I have my way that I swim my race, but we practice the changeovers. So I practice with her last 10 meters, my last 10 meters into Emma's last into Kate. Like, that's the one point where we come together. Then that's when we work together. But the rest of the race is just, no matter if you're first, you're third, you're last, like you have to swim the way that you practice swimming. Otherwise, you're just not going to get the times that you're expecting.
I'd love to know, actually, this is a question I don't think I've ever asked. Obviously, Tokyo, no crowds except for support staff and the other athletes. So when you've got Bronte, Emma, Kate on those blocks spurring you home, like how extra fuel does that help? Because obviously you've got a crowd usually at most events cheering you on, go Australia, go Australia. But when you've got your teammates, and can you hear them? And are you focusing on them, screaming at you, going, come on, Meg, come on, you've got this?
Well, I guess at being second, the other two girls after me haven't swum yet, so they're still trying to, I guess, conserve
They're
their
not wasting their breath. They're not screaming at you yet. So it's all Bronte.
And obviously Bronte's in the water. Like, she's not going to be able to stand behind me cheering me on. But no, but in the marshalling room with those girls was like amazing. Like I think they could tell that I was so nervous. And like I remember this so clearly. Like we were sitting in the marshalling room, and every other country was just kind of sitting there by themselves, but we were just talking, like the whole time talking about random stuff, like nothing else. And I remember, I think it was, I can't remember if it was Emma or Bronte, but we were sitting there and they're like, this is it. Like nothing you can do in the next 10 minutes is going to change the way that you race. Like you can't do an extra push-up. You can't do like any of this kind of stuff. Like nothing you can do is going to change. Like just enjoy it.
Wow.
And so like from then on, like with those girls, like we weren't really talking about swimming, weren't talking about that. It was just whatever came to our minds. We were talking about and walking out, like cheering each other on, like you got this. Like that took so much pressure off the swim. Like I guess so it's not really about times in the end, other than a world record, but like it's not like the race, like your race, it's the Olympic finals, you get there to win. Like that's the goal. Like no one at the end of the day remembers what time you did if you got an Olympic gold. Like it's just you got the gold, like it doesn't matter.
And it's a bit of a mind game too. If you've got all these other countries around you who are going shit in an Olympic final, and yet here's Australia going, so what did you have for dinner last night? Oh, did you watch the game last night? Like, I mean, it's like mind games. You guys are the best in the world, and all of a sudden they're going, shit, is that what we need to do?
Yeah. Like it definitely took the pressure off the race, and I was able to enjoy it so much more, as much as I still didn't remember half of it. But yeah.
It's insane. I love the story I've seen in a couple of your interviews, and I'd love you to share it on the show today. The realization that you'd broken the world record, because you didn't know that you had broken the world record, did you?
Well, obviously everyone's cheering because we won gold. Like that's in my mind. I was like, oh, everyone's just super hyped. Like we got gold. Like this is it. And then we're in the interview later, and then they're like, how do you feel? Like that was a world record. And I just turned to Kate and I was like, what? Kate's like, yeah, like we got a world record. I'm like, oh shit! Like I didn't know that. Like, wow.
Yeah. Kate's used to it. She's like, oh, it's world record. Come on, Meg. It's not that special. I've got 20 of them. Like, get over it, basically. But it's, I mean, obviously just the dominance, because it's also that fact that 3 in a row, which is a rare enough feat. I think from memory, you join Andrew Hoy and Dawn Fraser, sort of that group of, teams that have done it. I guess athletes and that have done 3 consecutive for Australia in Olympics. Obviously, Andrew Hoy part of a eventing team in equestrian, but Kate's part of that steam club, 3 in a row. Bronte, like it's just incredible to think that dominance that Australia has. In why do we produce such good female relay swimmers in this country?
I think because it's already so competitive that everyone just wants to be a part of it. Like the 4x1 is always got a huge chance of winning, and I think if you make the team for the 4x1, you just know that you have a really good shot at getting a gold on the world stage. Like it's huge, and because the competition is so big that you get more people coming into it, and they're more competitive, and everyone just wants to keep getting better to be on the team. And that's just, I think it's going to be like that for a long time.
We, on this show, we've got a strong Canadian connection, so we were extra happy that Canada got the silver, and also then that the Americans only got bronze. I mean, be honest, Meg, any time that America doesn't finish second and gets a third, that's an extra bit of smart. World record, gold medal in Olympics, and America only got a bronze. They didn't even get silver. That's extra weight there.
No, I love the Americans.
The rivalry, though. Come on, the rivalry. Add it to it.
Yeah, they just beat us in Jewel in the Pool, which was frustrating, but...
oh, well, give them one. That doesn't count, Jewel in the Pool. Come on, it's not the Olympics. Come on, that one doesn't count. You mentioned, obviously, the medal and everything that came with that. The stamp, getting to be on a stamp, is that kind of extra little thing when you get home?
That was weird. Yeah.
See,
people send me photos, I just pull your stamp. I was like, oh, I don't have a stamp. My mum's hung it up in my room. She's hung up all the little things. My old room here is like a shrine.
Wow.
I love it.
Which, I mean, God, just covered in stamps. Which then with the medal itself, I mean, is that part of your shrine? Does your mum sort of frame that, put it with the stamps?
No, that's actually at my grandparents' house in Adelaide. When we were left this year for our for the World Income Games, my grandma's like, you're not leaving without me taking that to my house. No one's gonna steal it. Okay.
Thanks, Nan. I'll take that on board there. Which one thing I love finding out too is obviously you get the bronze as part of the 4x2 because you swam the heats. When do they give you the medal? There's always seems to be a different story with this. Does somebody from the AOC just goes, by the way, Meg, here's your Olympic medal, just extra one for you?
I think Australia does a bit differently to other countries, but we have at the end of each like competition, we have like a team meeting, and we do it as the other team, like so the final team members present their heat swimmers with their medals, which
Right.
is nice.
It's a nice
Yeah.
little touch.
Yeah.
Fantastic. Which, I mean, you leave your first Olympic Games as a 2-time medalist. Not a bad turnaround.
Yeah.
But, I mean, sort of, I joked before about multiple Olympics, but, I mean, you know, Paris, at the time of recording this, less than 2 years away. The one that I'd love to know about, less than 10 years away from Brisbane, home state Olympics. You're still quite young, Meg. I mean, I look at Kate, what she's done, sort of how many Olympics she's been to in a row. Does that, like, tickle the fancy for potentially longevity, that you think there's a prospect of a home Olympics?
I mean, it's definitely exciting thinking about it, but I don't know if I could swim for that long.
Oh, never say never. Come on.
Yeah.
Was it
Never
Michael
say
Phelps,
never,
like
but-
80 when he retired? Come on.
But I'm just, yeah. At the moment, I'm just focusing on Paris and Melbourne. So, yeah.
Keep pushing with that. Which, I mean,
Yeah.
obviously, to the time recording this, 2022, you've had a fantastic year with the World Champs, the Commonwealth Games, just adding to that. So when you look at Paris, is it a simple case of maintaining that dominance by the 4x1 and then maybe focusing, I believe, on some individual events as well? Is that kind of your next sort of step for the next Olympics?
Definitely aiming for individual swims, but obviously still want to be a part of that 4x1 relay. I'm going to have to put in a lot of work now with all these swimmers coming through. There's so many of us now. But no, definitely that relay is something that I always want to be a part of as long as I'm swimming. And yeah, obviously I enjoyed so much swimming the 53 individuals. So there's always hungry for more of that. But yeah.
It's an experience too with a Commonwealth Games. Obviously, I've been to a Youth Commonwealth Games too. I mean, that in itself, and to get that individual silver, pretty special feeling as well, I can imagine. I mean, how was your experience at the Commonwealth Games? Did you enjoy that?
Oh, loved every second of the Commonwealth Games. The crowd was insane. Like, it was huge. I think at the end of it, England was just cheering for everyone, which was so good. But no, especially getting to swim with the other Australians, like at Worlds. I was the only one because Shayna didn't get to swim. So it was kind of like I was way more nervous in that one. But swimming alongside those girls in the final, and then again being on the podium with them was just incredible.
Sweep, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, because it's that rare fact at a Commonwealth Games, isn't it? Because generally there's only two of you up there, isn't there? So you can't really do the sweep. And also you want to win the gold, of course you do. But if you lose the gold to the GOAT, Emma, I mean, that's kind of not too bad. Like, if you want to lose, you want to lose to the GOAT, right?
Yeah, I guess. And it was the swim that I think it was her 11th or 12th gold, the one that made her the most decorated Commonwealth Games. Incredible. Like, even just being part of that race was huge. So.
Yeah, you're always going to be a teammate alongside our most decorated Commonwealth athlete, most decorated Olympic athlete. Like, it's just insane to think. Which, again, like, she just seems so humble. It just doesn't seem like, oh, yeah, gold, yep, sure, yeah, that's fine. Like, I mean, I can imagine that just being a teammate with someone like we talked about with the Campbells, but I mean, to be alongside someone like that who's achieving so much can only be inspirational for you in your own swimming.
Oh, definitely. Like, you watch her win, you're like, I want that.
Yeah.
You obviously want it. Everyone wants it.
She's got the I want 11. I can beat her record basically moving forward too. Wow.
No, but she's an incredible swimmer. Yeah.
It's crazy to think just the level of success she's had, and obviously more to come. Meg, we like to close out every interview with a set of fun get-to-know-you style questions. But before I get to those, you mentioned Dean before. Dean's obviously gotten his own little fan club out there as well. I mean, again, how's he? Like, is that him all the time? Is he always just grabbing on things and getting excited and pumped up? Always? Just, he's at the pool. Come on, Meg, swim hard, and just, absolutely going off all the time?
Oh, always got the energy. Like, wants the best out of everyone. So what can you do other than get everyone up and hyped?
You just can't help but get pumped, because someone like that just would be fun to be around, Like, you had a shit day, you're up at 5 a.m, I don't want to swim today. It's like, come on, man, you can do it, swim, here's your gold, dangle it at the other end of the pool, like, get you involved. Does he do tricks like that? Like, does he ever has an off switch? That's what I'll ask. Does he have an off switch?
No.
No?
Not to me.
Not to you. All right. That's good then. Okay. Good to know. Well, there should be a cheering event at Olympics if it's a gold medal, because we know he would clearly win that, obviously.
Oh, definitely.
These set of questions put towards Team Canada athletes ahead of Rio and Pyeongchang are always a good aspect to get to know a little bit more about you. There's a drawing element, Meg. You don't have to. It's not compulsory. If you're any good at drawing and you feel the need
I'm
to do
not.
something, you're not? Okay, well, if you change your mind, I could get you to draw a picture of yourself. There's draw a picture of a Canadian animal. We can make that Australian animal. And what would the coolest Olympic medal look like? So again, if you want to send us in, we'll put it on social media. Otherwise, you don't fail. It's all good. I'm going to start off by asking you, who to you is the greatest Olympian of all time?
I guess in my mind, Usain Bolt.
Yeah, good
Because he's just the
answer.
one person that I remember so many of him just winning constantly and constantly.
Yep.
Yeah.
Which is an interesting, I think Tokyo was the first Olympics, in Sydney that Usain Bolt hadn't been at. So it was sort of, it was interesting to not have to look out for him. Oh, here's one. This makes me feel old, no matter what you answer with this one. The first Olympics you remember watching was?
2016 Rio.
Yeah, definitely makes me feel old. Considering you weren't even born when Australia hosted the Olympics in 2000. That's, yeah, I just, we'll move on from that one. What is your favourite ice cream flavour?
Mint choc chip.
Oh, didn't even hesitate. I like that. Yum. Are you allowed much ice cream when you're in training mode?
I'm not in training, but you always have it.
You always do. Sneak it. Don't let Dean know. You can just, sneak it after
I'm
the
actually
race.
with this now. I'm in Adelaide.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, there you go.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, that always lets you have the ice cream. If you were a baseball player, what would your walk-up music be?
My walkout music.
Because you kind of have in swimming now,
This
don't
is
you?
really random, but I just sent out short course. Every time I put my song on, I had to listen to Single Ladies.
Ah, nice.
A bit random, but it was stuck in my head the whole week, so I'd say I'd just go with that right now.
If it works, it works, right? Perfect. I like it. In a movie about your life, who would play you?
Can I play myself?
Of course you can. How's your acting ability? Go for
Oh,
it.
great.
Yeah. I think Madonna's making her own biofilm, so why not Meg Harris?
I
Simple.
love a movie about me, by me.
Yeah. I also can imagine you would hate Family Guy, right? Like you must hate the whole shut up Meg thing.
I once Googled my name on Urban Dictionary because my sister's name means beautiful. And so I Googled my name and it said to call someone Meg is to call them an insult. Based on Family Guy.
Yeah, that's a bit mean, but no, shut up, Meg. Just all the time. It has to be said, right? Like, your guilty pleasure snack is?
Probably Tim Tams.
Ooh, yes. Good answer. Do you take them with you, like on the road, like when you go overseas, just because you can't really buy them overseas?
No, they melt. But
Yeah.
actually that or whipped cream in a can. Just spray it.
Oh, yeah. Kind of just like do the whole nozzle thing and just kind of... What about whipped cream on a Tim Tam? Have you tried that?
Yeah. I'm pretty sure I have.
Yeah. If not,
I put whipped cream on everything.
Yeah, that's the way to go. Put hot chocolate. Oh, okay, stop it. I'm getting hungry. Shut up, Meg. My favorites. Yeah, I don't like this one's a tricky one because unless you've got one, I think it's hard. Your favorite song lyric is? Do you have like a lyric that just speaks to you?
Not really. No.
Yeah, it's always one that puts you on the spot unless you've got one. So yeah, we'll skip that one. What is the most recent TV show that you binge watched?
I can't remember. The last thing I can think of is Bridgerton, but that wasn't the last thing I watched.
It'll come to you. We'll take Bridgerton as the answer there for that one.
Okay.
Your biggest fear in life is?
Drowning.
Drowning. Wow, that's... You don't want to do that in your sport. Wow. That's maybe the first swimmer I've ever heard say that, but okay. That
I think
makes
it's just
sense.
one way I'd be like, it'd just be embarrassing if I went out drowning. Like,
Yeah, probably. Yeah, I used to love that when you'd see the, before Steve Irwin sadly died, the interviewers would ask, like, oh, aren't you scared something's going to happen? And he'd be like, I don't want to get eaten by a crocodile and die because there'll be somebody watching going, I knew that would happen. So I'm using Emily Overholt's answer here for this one. She's written, waking up with a spider on my face. Very specific. Don't know how much that happens in Canada. The last one for you here today, Meg. What is one thing you can't live without?
I'm going to say Maddie Wilson.
Oh, she'd appreciate
Aw.
that. Oh, there
Hope she
you
watches
go.
it.
Yeah, exactly. There you go, Maddie. That's extra. Bring her extra Tim Tams now that Meg said that. So potentially there. Meg, before we let you go, if people want to follow the journey through to Paris and beyond, social media, where can people stay up to date with you?
On my Instagram, at Harris Meg, but with 2 eyes because one eye was taken.
Oh, damn it.
Oh,
Do they not know who you are? Come on. Jeez. TikTok? Do you have TikTok?
I do, same name.
Okay, all right.
Yeah.
We need to get the TikTok flowing on this show. I found out that, Andrew Hoyt 62 has TikTok. I feel that now we need to definitely get that going up here on the show. Meg, this has been so much fun learning a lot about your journey and your Olympic experiences. Good luck with everything moving forward, and we'll get you back on with those 10 gold medals around your neck after Paris. How does that sound?
Yeah, we'll try.